Imagine that you are stuck in day one of your mains preparation. How should you develop that mindset towards your mains examination? You do not have to think of the syllabus and its preparation exactly in the sequence as is given in the date sheet. Now, the weightage is such that each of these general studies subjects are worth 250 marks. Too much practice in essay, you will develop the skill of writing answers and the skill of writing essays. Something that helps you break that inertia from prelims itself. This could be a fresh start, some fresh content. Good evening, aspirants. So far, you are fighting the prelims battle. And now, it's time for you to step up, switch gears, and turn your head towards the mains examination. The mains examination and prelims are vastly different. Although there is some amount of convergence between the two, but that convergence is hugely limited to the extent of coverage itself. The mains examination comes with its own set of challenges. It's a subjective examination, first of all. Secondly, now you will be tested in your optional subject as well. In addition, you will be tested in your essay writing skills. Furthermore, there will be some newer topics that you'll have to prepare as part of your general studies preparation. Now, since both of these exams are vastly different, it obviously requires a very different strategy, a very different approach to clear mains. Now, what exactly is that strategy? What exactly is that mindset? That's what we are here to help you about. Welcome to day one of Mission Mains. Now, day one is about developing the right mindset and planning well for your mains examination. Imagine that you are stuck in day one of your mains preparation. How should you develop that mindset towards your mains examination? Firstly, you have to learn how to prioritize. You do not have to think of the syllabus and its preparation exactly in the sequence as is given in the date sheet. You'll have to look at the composition of this exam and understand this composition, understand the weightage, and therefore the amount of importance you have to give to various subjects. Now, if you look at the weightage of general studies, as of essay, and as of optional subjects, you will find something like this. You have general studies 1, 2, 3, and 4. In addition, you will be evaluated on your essay writing skills. In addition, you'll have to pick an optional subject as well. Now, the weightage is such that each of these general studies subjects are worth 250 marks. The essay is also worth 250 marks, and the optional subject is also worth 500 marks. Not 250, 500 marks. Now, if you look at this weightage, clearly you would say that the general studies block is worth 1000 marks in total, and hence it has to be prioritized over the other two. But that is the incorrect way of looking at it. In general studies, there is one subject which is ethics. If you look at this block, ethics, essay, and optional, why should you prioritize them over the other three? Now look at essay and look at ethics. Fundamentally, essay does not require a specific amount of learning or a different preparation. Similarly, in ethics, you will be of course required to learn a few basic ethical dilemmas, ethical values, ethical principles, conflicts. You'll have to prepare as per your syllabus itself. But both of these examinations are broadly skill-based examinations. With minimum amount of practice in ethics and with too much practice in essay, you will develop the skill of writing answers and the skill of writing essays. These exams are exams, if you prepare for them, the return on investment year on year is only going to improve. In addition, add to them the optional subject. Now, there is a range of choice across optional subjects. Some people select subjects from natural sciences. Some people select subjects from humanities also. Now, natural sciences, pretty much broadly static in nature. But when you look at humanities, normally what you'll find across humanities-based optional subjects is that there is paper 1 and paper 2. Paper 1 is the rather more static portion of the optional subject, and paper 2 is slightly more dynamic. Now, in terms of the dynamics of the optional subject paper 2, it's not as dynamic as your general studies 1, 2, and 3 may be. In fact, GS2 and GS3 can be considered the most dynamic aspects of this preparation. This means that, God forbid, if you have to write this exam again the next year, you may be required to not fundamentally but to very vastly change the topics that you have covered for general studies. But when you look at this block, optional subjects, the more you invest time in an optional subject now, it is only going to improve, because broadly it's going to be static. Only a small portion could be some amount of dynamic. Similarly, essay and ethics are skill-based examinations, and skill only and only comes from practice. The more you practice this, the return on investment is going to be higher compared to GS1, 2 and 3. Now, how do you actually visualize the topics that you have to cover? Once you know that different subjects as part of this preparation have different weightages and different nature, thereafter you will have to learn to prioritize. Now, how exactly will you prioritize? You'll have to think of all the topics that you have to cover across these two blocks. Block 1 will contain essay, ethics and optional. Block 2 is going to contain GS 1, 2 and 3. Now, here I would like you to pay a little more attention towards general studies. GS1 includes broadly history, art and culture, it includes society and geography. Now, society and geography are the most dynamic parts of GS1, while when you look at GS2 and GS3, both of them are vastly dynamic in nature. Now, in terms of your priorities, you have to realize that this block is going to fetch you more marks year on year and attempt after attempt, while this block you may be required to change gears every year. Therefore, in terms of your visualization, you divide all the content across these two blocks and give priority or a higher priority to block 1. This is priority number 1 and this is priority number 2. One more reason you would want to assign more priority to this block is because so far you have been preparing for prelims, right? You may have sort of postponed your preparation for your optional subject so far. You definitely would not have practiced essay writing and ethics answers in the time just before prelims. So this could be something that helps you break that inertia from prelims itself. This could be a fresh start, some fresh content. That always helps psychologically. Now, once you start to visualize all your content across these two blocks, knowing fully well that block 1 should be assigned more priority and block 2 not as much priority as block 1, thereafter you have to plan. Now, how do you plan? Firstly, you will have to count the number of days that are remaining up till your mains examination. Let's say you have a total of 90 days to prepare for your mains examination. Now, these days will have to be divided into a set of weeks. Now, this roughly translates to almost 13 weeks. What most aspirants do is that they start making daily targets. They do not make weekly targets. In fact, what you have to do is you have to make weekly targets rather than daily targets. Why do I say this? I say this because once you start to make a daily target, there is a good chance that you may fail to achieve this daily target. I mean, we are all human beings. Some days we are very productive, some days we are not. And on days where we are not very productive, you may not be able to achieve that target for the day. Now, if you do not achieve that day's target, this will pile on to the next day. And as you find the next day's target becomes bigger, there is an equally higher chance for you to not be able to meet the next day's target. This continues to pile on and eventually makes your targets very, very unsustainable. Daily targets means a daily possibility of failure, and more failures are going to shake your confidence. So what you have to do is, in a sense, develop a macro perspective on planning. You should have not daily targets, you should have something called weekly targets. That means by the end of the week, how much portion you have to cover, you should know well in advance. Some days you will be very productive, some days you will not be as productive, but what matters should be your weekly target. So first calculate the number of days, divide it into a set of weeks, figure out your weekly targets, and then basis those targets, make your weekly timetable. It helps you manage your time very well. Now, once you start like this, what's the next thing to follow? What exactly does your week look like? Like I said, we have identified two different blocks, block 1 and block 2. Block 1 is about essay, ethics, and optional subject. Block 2 is GS1, GS2, GS3. Now, once you pick a weekly target, how do you divide these two blocks across the week? Since this has to be given higher priority, I would recommend you to prepare 4 days for this block, and I would recommend you to assign 2 days specifically to this block. Every week should have 1 day especially dedicated for practice or test taking. That means every week you have to do a 4 plus 2 plus 1. 4 days for your optional, ethics, and essay. These 4 days you can divide them into 2, 1, and 1, because optional is going to require that much more effort. You can make your tactical changes, but broadly this should look, your week should look something like this: a 4 plus 2 plus 1. 4 for block 1, 2 for block 2, 1 day for practice. Now, once you have started to make your weekly targets, thereafter what you have to focus on is preparing itself. Now, what does preparation mean? Preparation basically means that you will have to read your content, you'll have to understand your content. Once you have read and understood your content, from the notes that you have, these notes have to be condensed. You have to make very, very short notes. Why condensed? Because the next and possibly the most important requirement, which is one that of revision. So you read, you understand, and you revise your material, and at the end you practice. This is exactly what preparation basically means. Now, not all subjects are going to require you to read lots and lots of. Many subjects are highly analytical in nature. Many subjects are not as analytical. So you have to strike a balance between this aspect of preparation and practice aspect of preparation. Both of them, I would say, are very, very important, almost equally important. Now, how do we do this? What is the study mode? Like I said, not all subjects are the same. Some subjects are a little more analytical and hence require a little more understanding. Some subjects are not as analytical and may not require as much understanding as they require retention. For example, if you ask me, my own subject, Indian economy, is highly analytical in nature. Now, if you have to prepare for Indian economy, you have to concentrate more not on retention but on analysis. While if I ask of you, what do you think about history? It's not that history does not require any understanding. It does, but the amount of retention which is required in history is significantly more compared to economics. Now, if you have some subjects which require more understanding, here in these subjects, you will be required to read more. You will be required to focus on or emphasize on understanding and then application aspect of it. While some subjects you can make do without reading any further, without having understood any further, you can straight up start revising them. Especially for the two blocks. If you look at block 1, which is your essay, ethics, and optional, there is a good chance that your preparation for your optional subject was suspended because of prelims. There is a good chance that you have not written an essay just yet. There is a good chance that you have not written any answers from ethics 2. Worry not, just give it more time. Read here, add more content here, understand that content, and focus on the application aspect of it. While general studies 1, 2, and 3, although not all of it, but a significant part of it you have already prepared for in your prelims examination. So you can focus more on revising and more on writing these particular papers. Now, this is your study mode. Thereafter, you have to only and only focus on practicing, on writing as well. And in fact, if you ask me, preparation for mains essentially is about writing. Please try to be obsessed about writing. And like I said, writing or test taking is possibly the best way of revising your own content. Every week you have to have one test, and this test better be a full length test. Why do I say a full length test? Because if you are going to bat in a test match, it requires a very different skill set from batting in a T20. This exam will be a 3-hour exam. There will be 20 questions and you will not get any break in the middle. You'll have to write 20 questions in 3 hours. So you have to simulate the exact exam environment in your preparation too. Now you cannot write full-length tests on a daily basis, but try to write a full-length test on a weekly basis. That means a minimum of 4 full-length tests you should attempt every month in the subsequent 3 months. Do not wait on it. And in the next video, we are going to be covering time management. That will be day 2 of Mission Mains.